Hello everyone. Today I'll be solving actually 20 SAT calculator inactive math problems from a recent SAT. And I actually have never seen any of these problems before, so I'll just be live solving it as we go. And I'll try to solve it as fast as possible. Alright, let's get started. So for question number 1, we have a graph that shows possible combinations of 3 credit and 4 credit classes that a student can enroll in. So if a student enrolls in 8 3-credit classes, how many 4-credit classes will the student enroll in to complete this program? Well, if we draw the line from 8 3-credit classes, that lines up precisely with the 9 4-credit classes. So the answer should just be 9 or C. Moving on to the next question. The graph of the linear function f is shown. Which function equation defines f? Well, obviously, the answer will be A because the y-intercept is at 0, 1, and the slope is also going to be 1. Moving on to the next question, it is the graph of the polynomial function f where y equals f of x has intercepts of negative 6, 0 and 6, 0. Which of the following must be true? Well, if y is 0, when x is 6 or negative 6, that means obviously A must be true, because when you plug in negative 6, the output must be 0. Moving on to the next question. What is the solution x, y to give a system of equations? Well, solving it, we can just add both together, so we get that negative 5 equals 4x plus 27, so x equals 3. If x equals 3, not x is not equal to 3 actually. X equals negative 3 because negative 9x equals 27, so x equals negative 3. If x equals negative 3, then we only have one possible answer, which is A, so it has to be A. Moving on to the next question. Absolute value of x minus 10 equals 0. What are the possible solutions to given equation? Well, if the absolute value of x minus 10 equals 0, that means that x minus 10 has to be 0. Because if absolute value all it is basically just how far from the number line, how far from a point is that number. And x has to be, the absolute value of x minus 10, right? That has to be a distance 0 away from 0. So the only possibility is 0, and that means that x equals 10. So the answer should be just C. Next question. Q equals S times R minus 1 squared. The given equation relates the positive numbers Q, R, and S. Which equation gives R in terms of Q and S and R is greater than 1? Well, we can just simply solve for R. So we have Q over S equals R minus 1 squared. And then we just simply take the square root. So we have R equals 1 plus square root of Q over S. And that aligns up with A. Moving on to the next question. In the relationship between variables x and y, each increase of 1 in the value of x decreases the value of y by 2. When x equals 0 and y equals 5, which equation represents this relationship? So y-intercept is 5, so we automatically rule out B and C. And that also means that when x increases by 1, y decreases by 2, so the slope should be negative 2. So obviously it should be D. Move on to the next question, 8. An architect is asked to construct an opening in a wall in the shape of a parabola. Parabola. The blueprint of the architect's design is shown. The formula is this. So K is a constant, and then, what is the value of K? So K is a constant, can be used to determine the feet height Y. So we see here that we can just plug in a value here, right? So when we plug in, let's say 4, for example, we get 8. So that means that A equals negative 4 times 4 minus 8 over K. And obviously this means that A equals 16 over K, so K equals 2. So the answer has to be 2. Moving on to the next question. An isosceles right triangle has a hypotenuse of length 4 inches. What is the perimeter of this in inches of this triangle? So if the hypotenuse is 4, that means that each side length is going to be 2 root 2. So that means that the total perimeter would be 4 plus 4 root 2. Next question. How many solutions does the equation 4 times x minus 2 equals negative 2 times x plus 4 have? Well, it's a linear equation at different slopes, so it has to be exactly one solution. Moving on to the next question. Line K is tangent to the circle with center C at point A, as shown. What is the slope of line K? So, basically, well, we know that if K is a tangent line, that means it has to be perpendicular to the line AC. And AC has a slope of, well, negative 4 minus 5, or negative 5, divided by negative 5 minus negative 7, and this equals 1 over 2. That means that slope K has to be negative 2, because it's a negative reciprocal. Next question. The function R gives the predicted average rating, expresses the number of points in the German Chess Federation database for a player based on the number of years a player has participated in professional chess tournaments. Which of the following represents the predicted average rating of a player who has just entered the first professional chess tournament? So if they've just entered their first professional chess tournament, then they played for 0 years, that means that the rating should be R of 0 then. (13) Alice took 60 minutes to complete a task on her first trial. The time it took Alice to complete the task decreased by 10% of the previous time for each additional trial. Approximately how many minutes will it take Alice to complete the task on the fifth trial? So first trial was 60 minutes, and then each additional trial, the time it takes decreases by 10%. A decrease by 10% means you multiply by 9 over 10. So it'll be 60 times 9 over 10 to the 4th power if it's the 5th trial, because from first to second, that's 1. From first to third, that's 2. So first to fifth, that's 4. And if this is the case, that means that, well, we can technically just do this. So we have 54 times 9 over 10 to the 3rd power, and this equals 54 times 729 over 1,000, and so if it equals 729 over 1,000, that means that's approximately 0.7 times 54, and 0.7 times 54 is going to be 38. But it's a little more 38, so it should be 39. So you see. Moving on to the next question. In which of the following tables are all the values of x and the corresponding values of y solutions to the system of inequalities shown? So this is basically plug and chunk here. So we notice that if x equals negative 2, then y has to be greater than negative 7. So it can't be A or B. Has to be C or D. If we plug in 0, x will be greater than negative 6, and both satisfy that. But it has to be less than 3 also. That satisfies, C and D will satisfy that. If you plug in negative 2, then it becomes negative 4 over 5 plus 3, which is 11 over 5. So negative 4 over 5 plus 3 is 11 over 5, which is 2.2. But C is not less than 2.2, so it has to be D, since 2, well, let's just check all of D. So plug negative 2 for both equations. We see that y is greater than negative 7. We see that y is less than 2.2 and y is 2. And we plug in x equals 0. Y is greater than negative 6. Y is less than 3. That's right. When I plug in 4, y is greater than negative 4 and it's less than something plus 3, so it has to be D. Next question. Which of the following is equivalent to root 32 times the fifth root of 64? So root 32 is equal to 2 to the fifth power over 2, and this is multiplied by 64 to the 1 over fifth power, and so this equals 2 to the 5 over 2 times 2 to the 6 over 5, and this equals 2 to the 5 over 2 plus 6 over 5, so that equals 37 over 10, and that means the only possible answer should be D, because 2 to the third power is 8, and then 2 to the 7 over 10 power is 2 to the 7th, and then the 10th root of that, so it has to be D. Next question. Line K is shown in the xy plane. Line J not shown is parallel to line K. What is the slope of line J? So this means that they have the same slopes, they're parallel. So the slope of K would just be 1 over 5. So the slope of J would also be 1 over 5. Next question. The expression 32x to the 6 over 4x cubed is equivalent to cx to the power d, where c near constant greater than 1. Greater than constant and x greater than 0. What is the value of c plus d? Well, this equals 8 times x to the third, so c plus d would just be 11. And that's done. Next question. What is the value of h in the solution of the given equation? Well, we just find h, right? And this means that 0.9h equals let's see here, negative 4.2. So this means that h equals negative 1.4 over 0.3, and this equals, is this even right? This is not right, sorry. We have 0.9h equals 4.2, and so this means that 0.3h equals 1.4, and h equals 10 over 3 times 1.4, which is 14 over 3, and we're done. A cylinder and a sphere both have the same radius r, where r is greater than 0. The cylinder has a height of 16. The volume of the sphere is half the volume of the cylinder. What is the value of r? Okay, so they have the same radius r. So the cylinder has a height of 16. So the volume would be pi 16. It would be 16 pi r squared for the cylinder, and the volume of the sphere would be 8 pi r squared. And both have the same radius, so that means the sphere would be 4/3 pi r cubed, and these would be equal. So this means that r simply equals 6. Next question. X squared plus bx plus c equals 0. In the given equation, b and c are constants. If negative b plus square root of b squared minus 4c equals 18, and that equals 10, what is one possible value of x? Okay. So, what is one possible value of x? I need to think about this for a second. If this equals 18 and that equals 10, that means that the two roots, remember the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a, In this case, A is 1, so everything matches up except divided by 2. So that means that X could either be 9 or 5. We just choose 1, and that should be right. Alright, this is just the problem solving part, and we finished this part.